A poor girl named Lee Chun-ching faced misfortune on the very first day of her job. By accident, she bumped into a handsome appa and even tore off a small accessory from his shirt. Embarrassed in front of everyone, the appa ran away in anger. The manager brought Chun-ching to apologize, but the appa, without any mercy, demanded that she be fired. And just like that, on her first day, she lost her job. Chun-ching was always a magnet for bad luck. When she went for an interview, out of 3 candidates, she was the one most ignored. When the examiner asked about her special talent, she thought hard and finally admitted that apart from having iron-like willpower, she had nothing else. To make things worse, her name resembled that of an ancient historical figure, and everyone burst into laughter. Another humiliation came when a boy on the street was handing out flyers to everyone but skipped her entirely. Upset, she questioned him, only to realize those flyers were advertisements meant only for men. At that moment, an old man appeared, introducing himself as a top entertainment producer named Shun Junhong. He flattered her, saying she was a rare genius in singing, dancing, and rapping. At first, she was doubtful, but with his sweet words, she let herself believe and thought maybe she truly was a 1 in a million talent. When she told her family, most mocked her, except for her mother, who supported her and even accompanied her to meet the producer. The producer trapped mother and daughter further with charming words, promising to make Chun-ching a superstar within a few years. He pulled out a contract and said that signing it would immediately bring a 20 million signing bonus. Overjoyed, they signed without hesitation and proudly shared the news with the rest of the family. But soon, the bank informed them that a 20 million loan had been taken in her name. The cunning producer had also tricked her into transferring another large sum. Now, the entire debt fell onto Chun-ching's shoulders. When the truth hit her, she was devastated and didn't even dare to tell her family. Meanwhile, that same handsome appa was secretly leaving negative reviews about his ex-girlfriend. Startled by the sudden intrusion of his secretary, he learned that his ex-girlfriend wanted to meet him. So he went to the restaurant, but before even seeing her, he stumbled badly and hit his head, leaving him embarrassed and awkward. At that very moment, his ex-girlfriend arrived right on time. The handsome appa, Shin Junhao, was a top producer at an entertainment company, while his ex-girlfriend, Choi Yeon-er, had become a famous star. Many years earlier, they had both been idol trainees in the same company. But when Choi was given an opportunity to perform, she abandoned Junhao. Later, as Choi rose to fame, Junhao even attended her fan meeting, but she pretended not to recognize him. Now that Junhao had achieved success, he wanted to prove to her that abandoning him was a huge mistake. He invited her to sign with his company, offering her complete freedom. But instead of being impressed, Choi thought he was overestimating himself. To push him back, she randomly picked an ordinary-looking passerby and challenged him, saying that if he could make this girl into a superstar within 6 months, she would agree to sign with him. For the sake of his pride as a man and his reputation as a top producer, Junhao accepted the challenge. He immediately sent out his actor Shin Tai to conduct a thorough investigation on the girl. That girl was Lee Chun-ching. Not only did she look plain and ordinary, but she had also recently been scammed out of 20 million by a con man pretending to be an agent. Unable to tell her family, she confided the truth to her best friend. But when her friend went home, she couldn't keep the secret and ended up spilling everything to Chun-ching's family. Worse still, her friend's mother was also her own mother's close friend, and desperate to recover her lost money, Chun-ching began working at the very restaurant where she was scammed, hoping to catch the con man. To cover up, she lied to her family, saying she was taking acting classes. Not long after, her father came to pick her up from the so-called class and finally discovered that she had been scammed. Though disappointed, he didn't blame her. Chun-ching begged him not to tell her mother, and he agreed. But her friend's mother couldn't hold back, and soon her mother found out. In anger, her mother scolded her harshly, blaming herself for Chun-ching's misfortune. Meanwhile, Chun-ching misunderstood, thinking her father had broken his promise, so she lashed out at him and even ignored him the next morning on her way to work. Her father, knowing how much pain she carried and regretting not being able to celebrate her birthday earlier because of the scam, decided to make it up to her. He planned a birthday celebration, but tragically, on that very evening, he was killed instantly in a traffic accident. Later, when Junhao's subordinate handed him Chun-ching's profile, he was both shocked and thrilled. He had never seen someone so utterly ordinary. To Junhao, Lee Chun-ching seemed like the perfect candidate, an absolute amateur who had completely missed every opportunity to be in the entertainment world. He thought, if I can turn even someone this ordinary into a star, then there is no artist I cannot handle. But just as he planned to begin training her, a misunderstanding arose. The family mistook him for someone coming to propose marriage, and the grandmother even gave him a good beating. Still, determined to take revenge on his ex-girlfriend, Junhao swore he would turn Chun-ching into a superstar. Yet Chun-ching, burdened by the pain of being scammed and the grief of losing her father, hesitated and did not agree right away. To prove his sincerity, Junhao had his secretary forcibly bring her to a movie press conference. After being polished up, she made a dazzling appearance, and Junhao confidently introduced her to all kinds of celebrities in the industry. Unexpectedly, Chun-ching ran away. Junhao chased after her, brought her back to the company, and tried to fire her up with encouragement. But her past scars were too heavy. She no longer dared to dream. Though she knew it was a golden opportunity, she once again refused his offer. Walking alone on the street afterward, she looked at her reflection in the glass glass and thought how much she wished her father could see her now. Soon after, she discovered that her mother was secretly working as a cleaner. Watching her mother being scolded harshly and unable to defend herself, even falling without telling the family, Chunjing's heart wavered. She went back to Junhao and begged him to turn her into a star. Showing his generosity, Junhao even covered part of her earlier losses, paying her 12 million after learning she had been cheated out of 10 million. With this, he signed Chunxing officially, believing things would now move forward smoothly. But the true challenges had only just begun. Because Chunxing looked far too plain and had little education, the company's experts were at a loss. Some suggested plastic surgery, others said she needed years of slow cultivation, and some even advised giving up entirely. Furious, Junhao scolded them all and set out to achieve the impossible. He created a strict training plan for Chunjing, controlling her diet, enforcing exercise and fitness, and pushing her step by step. At home, however, she faced even greater resistance. Her father's death had left the family in grief, and her second sister directly blamed Chunxing, saying that if she hadn't pursued her dream, been scammed, and gotten into debt, their father would never have been rushing that night when the accident happened. Guilt consumed Chunxing. Though she had signed with Junhao, she dared not tell her family. To improve her acting, Junhao approached the famous actress Song Mei-li and asked her to be Chunxing's mentor. But what Chunxing didn't know was that this woman was tied to her father's death. On the night of the accident, her father had been visiting Song Mei-li, and it was while trying to save her that he lost his life. Song Mei-li was not only an accomplished actress, but also a strict teacher. She started with the basics, script reading, line practice, and guiding Chunxing to watch plays to feel the essence of performance. Though Chunxing struggled to understand at first, she was deeply moved. Soon, Song Mei-li handed her one of her own past scripts and asked her to interpret it in her own way. To her surprise, Chunxing's understanding matched hers exactly. This made Song Mei-li look at her in a new light, even developing a fondness for her. In their conversations, Song Mei-li recalled her own past, a dark, tainted history. Coincidentally, those shadows seemed to connect with Chunjing's father, though at this point, she remained unaware of Chunjing's true background. Song Mei-li fully recognized Li Chunxing's talent and decided to give her special training. To ensure her success, she even went to a director of a new film and demanded that the female lead role be reserved for Chunxing. Otherwise, she herself would refuse to act. But at the same time, Song Mei-li made a devastating discovery. She was in fact the very person responsible for Chunxing's father's death. Meanwhile, within Chunxing's household, the man who often came by to freeload meals was privy to many of the family's secrets, and this family had far too many. The eldest sister had once married a wealthy man, but after he took another woman outside, they divorced. She returned to her mother's home with her daughter, hiding the truth so their mother wouldn't worry. The mother, unaware, often boasted proudly about her wealthy son-in-law. The second sister was secretly in love with a neighbor's son, keeping their relationship hidden from both families. But the one with the biggest secret was the youngest daughter, Li Chunjing. Many years ago, her father had found her abandoned by the roadside and brought her home. To his surprise, instead of blaming him, the mother had joyfully accepted the child, raising and spoiling her even more than her two biological daughters. She thought this secret would remain hidden forever. But after her husband's sudden death, while sorting through his belongings, she came across an old photograph. The photo showed her late husband with a woman. Curious about who she was, she asked her mother-in-law, who impatiently explained that the woman was her husband's former lover from his youth, named Qingshu. Studying the picture carefully, the mother was unsettled to find that this Qingshu looked very much like the famous actress Song Mei-li. Later, while cleaning the storage room, the eldest sister discovered a bundle of items, clothes that Chunjing had been wrapped in when she was first found. At first, she didn't think much of it, but when she looked closer at a scarf among the clothes, she remembered that the woman in the old photo also wore a similar scarf. Comparing them, she realized the scarves were exactly the same. This discovery left her deeply uneasy, making her suspect her husband may have betrayed her. She asked her mother-in-law again when exactly her husband had known Qingshu, but the response remained vague and evasive. The next morning, at breakfast, she found herself staring at Chunxing's face, seeing more and more resemblance to Qingshu. Troubled, she sought out her husband's close friend and questioned him about the relationship. But the man's nervous reaction and repeated insistence that they were just ordinary friends only fueled her suspicion. Determined to uncover the truth, she visited the orphanage where Qingshu had once stayed. After asking around, she was told that Qingshu had long since emigrated to the United States. Relieved, she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. But not long after, when she visited the shop owned by her husband's close friend, she happened to walk in during a heated argument between the friend and his wife. During a heated quarrel, the truth slipped out. Qingshu was none other than Song Mei-li. Hearing this, Chunxing's mother was utterly shocked. After pressing further, her husband's friend admitted the reality. Li Chunxing was Song Mei-li's daughter, and most likely the child of her late husband and Song Mei-li. Discovering that she had unknowingly raised the daughter of her husband's mistress for over 20 years broke her completely. She threw her husband's photo into the trash, drowned herself in alcohol, though she had never drunk before, and no longer showed respect to her mother-in-law, even shouting at the old woman before collapsing into tears. On the other side, to hide the truth about Chunjing's father's death, Song Mei-li completely blocked Chunxing's career. She had no idea she was destroying the future of her own daughter. Junhao was furious when he discovered that Chunqing's name was missing from the audition list. When he confronted the crew, they could not explain it, and the director finally revealed that everything was Song Mei Lee's doing. Stunned, Junhao went straight to her, demanding to know why she had once vowed to nurture Chunqing, but now was banning her. Song Mei Lee, indifferent, simply said that Chunqing had failed to meet her expectations. Junhao was furious, but to spare Chunqing pain, he didn't tell her the truth, that her own mentor had abandoned her. Chunqing believed she had disappointed Song Mei Lee and felt guilty. She tried calling many times to apologize, but Song Mei Lee never answered. In desperation, Chunqing visited her in person, only to be coldly rejected. Song Mei Lee told her she was disappointed and shut the door in her face. The blow left Chunqing devastated. Seeing her broken, Junhao's heart ached, and he scolded her for degrading herself like this. Soon after, his secretary revealed that Song Mei Lee had originally intended to give Chunqing the lead role, but suddenly blocked her the day before the audition. Clearly, someone was pulling strings behind the scenes. Junhao instantly thought of his bet with his ex-girlfriend and confronted her, asking if she had secretly sabotaged Chunqing. But his ex laughed strangely, questioning why he took a simple joke so seriously. Meanwhile, after learning that Chunqing was Song Mei Lee's daughter, her mother's resentment deepened. When she discovered Chunqing was even studying acting under Song Mei Lee, that resentment grew unbearable. She began targeting Chunqing at every step. The family noticed her strange behavior, but Chunqing assumed it was her own lack of ability that made her mother disapprove. She pushed herself harder in training, but the harder she worked, the angrier her mother became, reminded again and again that she had raised the daughter of her rival. It wasn't until Chunqing failed her audition and Song Mei Lee stopped teaching her that the mother's attitude softened slightly. She then met with Junhao, hoping he would terminate Chunqing's contract, but when she heard Junhao's determination to fight back against Song Mei Lee, her own heart ignited with revenge. She agreed to let Junhao train Chunqing, but only gave him 1 month. For the sake of her support, Junhao accepted the condition. Thus began Chunqing's 1-month star-making plan. Junhao positioned her as a pure, innocent first love type, requiring every aspect of her to embody that feeling. She had to eat delicately, walk and move gracefully, and he even assembled a team of top image consultants. After a complete transformation, when Chunqing finally appeared, she stunned the entire room, shining brightly like a star. When Chunqing appeared after her makeover, she was like an angel, so radiant that even her colleagues were left in awe. To secure more exposure for her within the month, the entire company was in a frenzy, but no suitable opportunities could be found. In the end, Junhao took a risk and replaced the female lead in a new music video with Chunqing. He had already arranged everything, but Song Mei Lee soon found out. Once again, she used her influence to block Chunqing. Junhao's secretary rushed to report that the original MV actress, incited by others, was now demanding an outrageous sum in compensation. If Junhao didn't want trouble, he would have to stop using Chunqing. Faced with repeated suppression, Junhao finally lost his patience. Furious, he swore to find the mastermind behind it all. Around this time, his ex-girlfriend asked to meet him. She begged him to stop the bet and even offered to join his company voluntarily. But Junhao, still angry and suspecting her of being behind the sabotage, refused outright. He warned coldly that from now on, whoever dared to stand in Chunqing's way would face his wrath. Then he turned and walked away. To secure Chunqing's role in the MV, Junhao personally approached the president of the original actress's agency, trying both threats and persuasion, but the man wouldn't budge and they parted on bad terms. Soon after, Junhao's investigation revealed that all these sabotage attempts were orchestrated by Song Mei Lee. Enraged, he confronted her, but she showed no remorse. Calmly, she explained that she had accepted his ex-girlfriend as her goddaughter and didn't want her to be hurt. In truth, she was only trying to push Junhao back together with his ex. Hearing this, Junhao's wounded pride from being abandoned by his ex was strangely soothed. Back at the company, Junhao's unusual attention to Chunqing far exceeded expectations, sparking resentment. Employees gossiped endlessly, spreading rumors that Chunqing had only earned her opportunities through improper means. Troubled, Chunqing told Junhao she wanted to quit the MV. Disappointed, Junhao scolded her harshly and, in frustration, told her if she didn't want to act, then she shouldn't. Later, when Chunqing entered the practice room, she ran into Junhao's secretary. On hearing she wanted to quit, the secretary nearly exploded. He revealed that if it hadn't been for her mother's pressure, Junhao would never have taken the risk of replacing the original lead actress. What's more, Junhao had already paid a huge penalty fee just to give her this chance. Only then did Chunqing realize the burden Junhao carried. Not wanting to let down either him or her mother, she resolved to continue with the MV. Through this process, Chunqing and Junhao began to feel something different for each other. Though Junhao still met with his ex-girlfriend, his thoughts were filled with Chunqing. Eventually, he decided to give up on his old relationship entirely. Soon, the MV filming began as scheduled, but on set, Chunqing unexpectedly encountered Junhao's ex-girlfriend. With a sharp tongue, the ex revealed the cruel truth that she and Junhao had used Chunqing as part of a bet to rekindle their relationship. She told Chunqing bluntly not to ruin it for them. When Chunqing learned she had been used, and with the fans of the original MV actress also turning against her, she was devastated. In despair, she angrily told Junhao that she no longer wanted to continue, and was giving up on being an artist. Unaware of the truth, Junhao tried to encourage her, but at that moment, his ex-girlfriend appeared. She admitted that she had told Chunxing about the bet. Shocked, Junhao immediately wanted to find Chunxing, but his ex pulled him back, warning that if he left now, their chance of reconciliation would be gone forever. Junhao didn't hesitate. He pushed her hand away because in his heart, there was only Chunxing. Junhao knew he had wronged Chunxing and longed for a chance to apologize. Yet Chunxing never answered his calls, so he went to her in person, sincerely admitting his mistake. He explained that although it began as a bet, he truly wanted to nurture her talent, but Chunxing couldn't let go of the hurt and told him not to come looking for her again. For Junhao, a man with strong pride, his feelings were complicated. He wanted her to act not only because of her talent, but also because he had fallen for her. Still, even after changing to a fresh new look, he couldn't bring himself to confess his feelings. Meanwhile, Song Mei Li's loyal assistant, Chief Wang, had always been covering up her dark past, but seeing him often acting secretive, she suspected betrayal and lashed out at him. Feeling wronged, he revealed the truth, that he had been investigating her daughter for her sake. When Song Mei Li saw the report, she recalled Chunxing's father's last words. A suspicion grew in her heart. Could Chunxing be the daughter she had lost so many years ago? To confirm, she went to the restaurant where Chunxing worked part-time and asked about her birthday and birth details. Everything matched. The realization that Chunxing was indeed her daughter left Song Mei Li shaken. Memories of rejecting Chunxing, blocking her career, and shutting her out weighed heavily on her. Her heart was torn with pain. She longed to acknowledge Chunxing as her child, and one drunken night, she even wandered to Chunxing's doorstep, staring at the door in silence. But as a famous actress, she feared that if the truth came out, her entire career would collapse. This inner torment drove her to drink constantly, leaving her unable to focus at work. At home, Chunxing's mother, who had known the truth, grew increasingly cold and harsh toward her family. The grandmother, seeing how her daughter-in-law targeted Chunxing at every step, also felt deeply hurt. Finally, unable to hold back, she confronted her daughter-in-law and poured out all the frustration she had bottled up for so long. Hearing this, Chunxing's mother felt even more wronged. She shouted out in anguish, and her words nearly made the grandmother faint. At last, the grandmother understood the resentment in her daughter-in-law's heart. She pitied her suffering and wanted to know the truth about Chunxing's real mother. When the daughter-in-law refused to reveal it, the grandmother sought out her late son's closest friend. She accused him of deceiving her all these years. Seeing no way out, the man finally confessed the truth. Chengding was Song Mei Li's daughter. Enraged, the grandmother turned her anger on her daughter-in-law, scolding her harshly. She felt ashamed of her son's reckless past, yet also heartbroken for the pain her daughter-in-law had endured. Wanting to protect her now, she vowed to stand up for her. The grandmother, determined to defend her daughter-in-law, went alone to Song Mei Li's home. With eyes full of anger, she lashed out at Song Mei Li, throwing harsh words at her. Song Mei Li, unwilling to back down, remembered how the grandmother had once stood in the way of her relationship with her son. Old grudges resurfaced, and the two began shouting at each other. The grandmother flew into a rage, almost like a force of nature, and the quarrel quickly turned physical. She grabbed Song Mei Li, and the two struggled fiercely until assistants rushed forward to separate them with great effort. After the grandmother stormed off, Song Mei Li, humiliated and furious, resolved that she would no longer hide the truth. She decided to reveal to the world that she had a long-lost daughter and planned to bring her back. The next day, she told Junhao to prepare a press conference to announce it. Her assistant Huang tried desperately to stop her, but Song Mei Li insisted. She explained that reporters were already secretly investigating. If she stayed silent, the media would portray her as a mother who had abandoned her child, and the damage to her reputation would be even greater. Junhao, unaware that the daughter she spoke of was Chunxing, agreed with her reasoning. Soon after, Song Mei Li dressed herself in luxurious clothes, prepared a car full of gifts, and charged into Chunxing's home like a warrior heading into battle. She told Chunxing's mother about the press conference. Upon hearing this, Chunxing's mother was furious, but Song Mei Li tried to persuade her. She argued that since the matter was already exposed, even if she stayed quiet, reporters would publish it, and the damage to Chunxing would be worse. Just then, Junhao arrived to discuss the press conference with Song Mei Li. When he realized that the daughter she planned to announce was none other than Chunxing, he exploded with anger. He knew that if the truth were revealed, it would cause terrible harm to Chunxing. He regretted ever agreeing to Song Mei Li's plan. Meanwhile, Chunxing's home fell into chaos. Her mother, desperate to keep their family's shame from being made public, confronted Song Mei Li, begging her not to hold the press conference. But Song Mei Li refused to listen, and their talk ended in bitterness. With no other choice, Chunxing's mother pinned her last hope on Junhao. Junhao, deeply worried for Chunxing, promised he would do everything in his power to stop the press conference. He went to the reporter who had been following the story and pleaded with him not to expose it yet. The reporter admitted the story would eventually come out, but out of sympathy, agreed to give Junhao a few days to tell Chunxing the truth himself. Junhao then returned to Song Mei Li, urging her to comfort Chunxing before any announcement was made. But Song Mei Li, blinded by her own pride as a star, dismissed his concerns. She believed Chunxing should feel nothing but happiness at being acknowledged as her daughter, not pain. She refused his request. For the first time, Junhao felt powerless, always confident that he could fix any problem, he realized now he could not protect Chunxing. Feeling defeated, he picked up the phone. Before the press conference, Chunxing's mother tried to comfort her. She took her shopping, even visiting Chunxing's father's grave together. Finally, she revealed the truth about Chunxing's birth. Soon after, the press conference was held as planned. Song Mei-li appeared before the public as a tragic woman who had lost her child. When she announced the truth, society erupted in shock. For Chunxing's family, life turned upside down. Reporters surrounded their home, making it nearly impossible to even step outside. Devastated by the revelation, Chunxing ran away from home. When she finally calmed down, she went to Song Mei-li and begged her not to contact her again and not to hurt her family anymore. Song Mei-li was heartbroken. Though she tried many times to meet and talk, Chunxing refused. In time, Chunxing reconciled with her family, and they began living peacefully again. With Junhao's help, the reporters at their door were driven away. Just when they thought life was returning to normal, Song Mei-li, unwilling to give up her rights as a mother, brought a huge check to Chunxing's adoptive mother. A fierce battle for custody broke out between the biological mother and the woman who had raised Chunxing for decades. Though Chunxing wasn't her own flesh and blood, the adoptive mother had raised her all those years and refused to hand her over. Furious, she drove the famous actress away. Later, Chunxing heard from her sister that her biological mother had offered money to take her away. Feeling suffocated, she confronted Song Mei-li, demanding that she stop hurting her family and stop disturbing her life. She turned and left. At that moment, a reporter passed by. Under Song Mei-li's repeated pleading, Chunxing reluctantly agreed to an interview, but afterwards she regretted it deeply. Fearing her adoptive mother would be hurt when it aired, she made Song Mei-li promise not to broadcast it. Yet, in order to pressure the adoptive mother into giving up custody, Song Mei-li instructed her assistant to not only air it, but also promote it widely. Soon, the interview was broadcast everywhere. Chunxing's family was both disappointed in her and disgusted by Song Mei-li's ruthless methods. Her adoptive mother, especially, was heartbroken, unable to focus even on work. When Chunxing tried to explain, her mother comforted her instead, saying since it had already happened, she should accept it calmly. Meanwhile, after the broadcast, Song Mei-li received congratulations from many in the entertainment industry. Pleased with the outcome, she happily prepared Chunxing's room, decorating it beautifully in anticipation of her moving in. Soon after, she met with Chunxing's adoptive mother, applying pressure by saying that if Chunxing came to her, she would soar to stardom, but if she stayed, she would remain ordinary. The adoptive mother was torn. Since Chunxing had given up on acting, she returned to job hunting but faced failure after failure. Her mother, knowing how much she loved acting and pained by her sacrifice, told Chunxing to accept Song Mei-li's arrangements. Misunderstanding, Chunxing thought her mother was giving up on her. Devastated, she quarreled bitterly with her and stormed out of the house. With nowhere to go, she found the manager of the restaurant where she once worked and left with them on a trip. Meanwhile, Junhao, though strongly opposed to Song Mei-li's tactics, also hoped Chunxing could use her influence to return to acting. He tried persuading her many times. Chunxing, believing Junhao understood her pain, felt betrayed when she realized he too wanted her to accept Song Mei-li's help. When Chunxing realized Junhao also supported Song Mei-li's plans, she felt utterly disappointed. Learning that Chunxing had gone on a trip with her former restaurant manager, Junhao became furious. He immediately took his assistant and rushed after her. On the trip, he and Chunxing spent a beautiful day together, taking photos, sightseeing, and enjoying the scenery along the way. It felt almost like love, yet not quite. In those moments, Junhao stopped pressuring her to accept Song Mei-li's arrangements. Back in Seoul, Chunxing once again ignored Song Mei-li. Enraged, Song Mei-li blamed Junhao for influencing her and quarreled with him fiercely. Their fight escalated, and they threatened to end their cooperation altogether. Chunxing thought that rejecting Song Mei-li would bring peace, but instead, Song Mei-li retaliated by spreading malicious rumors. She claimed Chunxing had always lived under her family's harsh control, that her mother had destroyed her dreams, and even that she was mistreated because she wasn't their biological child. The rumors exploded, leading to arguments with neighbors and fights in the streets. Chunxing's mother, deeply wounded, told her through tears, "Go live your life. Go succeed. Go do good things. Don't let this mother, who only holds you back, weigh you down. Follow the path I arranged for you." To end the rumors and protect her adoptive mother, Chunxing turned to her biological mother, Song Mei-li. She agreed to follow her on one condition, that Song Mei-li publicly clarify that her adoptive family had always treated her well and never abused her. Song Mei-li promised. She took Chunxing shopping for luxury clothes and treated her to fine dining, but Chunxing couldn't feel happy. Seeing her daughter's unease, Song Mei-li arranged for a reporter interview. In front of the cameras, Chunxing defended her adoptive mother, insisting she was a good parent and that her family treated her kindly, but she said nothing about her connection to Song Mei-li. Jealousy burned in Song Mei-li. She had the reporter remove Chunxing's words about her adoptive family and only broadcast the happy reunion narrative. Meanwhile, Chunxing's second sister wanted to marry the neighbor's son, but his mother strongly opposed and even stormed into their home, creating chaos. Chunxing's mother, already distressed by her daughter's situation and the news coverage, was overwhelmed. When Chunxing discovered the interview had been altered, she rushed home to explain. But her mother, at her breaking point, finally erupted. She told Chunxing she loved her deeply, that she didn't mind her seeing Song Mei-li, and begged her not to live as if she needed her approval for everything. Angry that Song Mei Lee had broken her promise, Chungxing confronted her, shouting that she never wanted to see her again. Desperate to win her back, Song Mei Lee revealed a shocking secret. Chungxing had no blood relation to her current family. She urged Chunxing never to return to them. Stunned by the truth, Chunxing was terrified her adoptive family might find out. To keep the secret buried, she pleaded with Song Mei Lee not to tell anyone. Chungxing decided to move into Song Mei Lee's home. Meanwhile, Junhao was thrilled to learn that Chunxing wanted to return to acting. But unlike Song Mei Lee, who hoped her daughter could rise quickly using her fame, Junhao wanted Chunxing to start from the ground up. This difference led to sharp disagreements between them. Chungxing herself also wanted to avoid relying on Song Mei Lee's influence. Especially after discovering the truth about her birth, she developed a strong rebelliousness toward her biological mother, rejecting many opportunities that Song Mei Lee arranged. She went to Junhao for help, saying she wanted to prove with her own ability that she could succeed without anyone's name behind her. With great determination, she attended her first audition, but nerves overcame her, and she failed. Frustrated, she blamed herself, while Junhao, watching from the side, gave a sly smile, knowing it would never be so easy. To open her eyes to reality, Junhao took her to audition for a theater troupe. Chungxing sang passionately, but the judges quickly recognized her as Song Mei Lee's daughter. Afterward, Junhao reminded her that no matter where she went, people would always connect her to Song Mei Lee. If she truly wanted independence, she would have to start from zero and keep training. Not long after, Junhao secured her a small role as a restaurant singer. Chungxing was delighted and threw herself into practice. She trained day and night with her script, while Junhao even taught her guitar to make her feel more like a real performer. When the audition day came, Chunxing, though still stiff in acting, touched the judges with her heartfelt singing and won the role. Overjoyed, she and Junhao hugged tightly. Chungxing shared the good news with her adoptive mother, but deliberately kept it from Song Mei Lee, which left the actress furious. By chance, Song Mei Lee saw a text message from Chungxing's mother about holding a small celebration dinner. Out of spite, she deleted the message and decided to overshadow her. On the same day, she organized a much grander celebration, inviting famous figures from the entertainment world. She even tricked Chungxing's mother into attending, planning to humiliate her in public. Realizing this, Chungxing's mother quietly left to avoid spoiling her daughter's moment. Meanwhile, Junhao's ex-girlfriend Choi, jealous that Junhao had turned his heart toward Chungxing, began plotting revenge. During auditions, knowing the director disliked nepotism, she deliberately emphasized that Chungxing was Song Mei Lee's daughter, stirring his dissatisfaction. Yet Chungxing's genuine acting earned his recognition, thwarting Choi's scheme. Suspicious and unwilling to stop, she misled Junhao's secretary with false filming times and locations. As a result, Chungxing and her team missed the first session and rushed late to the set, only to walk in during filming, infuriating the director. Feigning kindness, Choi pretended to plead for Chungxing, but in truth, she only wanted to apply pressure. Behind Chungxing's back, she kept telling other cast members and seniors that her mother was the famous Song Mei Lee, fueling resentment and jealousy. During the second shoot, she tricked Chungxing again, telling her that the crew was upset with her repeated mistakes and advising her to buy drinks for everyone as an apology. She even gave Chungxing her card to do it, but as soon as Chungxing stepped away, her scene was called. With her absent, the director flew into a rage and canceled Chungxing's filming for the day. Disheartened and facing setback after setback in acting, frustrated and dejected, Chungxing went alone to the seaside to clear her mind. But by coincidence, a typhoon warning had caused the film crew to evacuate early. Chungxing and Junhao missed the last boat and were stranded on a small island. With only one hotel there, Chungxing felt a little excited by the unfamiliar environment. An elderly helper at the hotel, noticing the two, asked teasingly about their relationship. Then, with a knowing smile, he told them there was only one room left. The atmosphere became awkward, but the old man didn't stop. He served them a hearty dinner and kept making suggestive comments that embarrassed Junhao nearly to death. That night, with the air filled with both sweetness and awkwardness, Junhao decided to sleep outside to ease the tension, leaving Chungxing the room. But the mosquitoes were relentless, and he couldn't rest at all. Seeing him struggle pitifully, Chungxing finally invited him back inside. In the quiet of the night, the two found themselves leaning into each other. Though they had long liked each other, neither had confessed. Despite Choi's repeated sabotage causing Chungxing to make mistakes, her powerful acting skills impressed the director, even convincing him multiple times at great cost. After that night on the island, Chungxing and Junhao's feelings grew quickly. Junhao finally decided it was time to confess. Both of them carefully prepared, dressing up for the occasion. But just then, Choi unleashed her ultimate move. She went to the media herself, claiming she was in a relationship with Junhao. Overnight, headlines exploded with news of their romance. Their chance to confess was ruined. The scandal spread, and Junhao received congratulations from all sides. He couldn't defend himself, and even Chungxing believed it, telling him they looked well-matched and wishing them happiness, though the words broke her heart, and she cried once she turned away. Junhao, too, was filled with frustration and pain. At home, Chungxing's family had already been disappointed in her since she moved in with Song Mei Lee. When her second sister prepared for marriage, they didn't even invite Chungxing to the family meeting with the in-laws. Feeling left out, her brother-in-law later sought her out, learning that she had someone she liked but lacked the courage to confess. He encouraged her not to live with regrets. Chungxing gathered her courage to go find Junhao, but she arrived just as Junhao was meeting Choi to ask her to clarify the rumors. Misunderstanding, Chunxing thought they were still involved and walked away heartbroken. Junhao saw her leave and immediately chased after her. Finally, the two confessed their feelings, embracing passionately and beginning their long-awaited romance. From then on, their love was inseparable. Even when apart for a short while, they already missed each other. Junhao carefully crafted a long, heartfelt message and sent it to Chunxing. Receiving it, Chunxing nervously began editing her reply, typing, deleting, rewriting, over and over, pouring her own heart into every word. After the drama aired, Chunxing's first performance gained warm reception from audiences. She quickly built her own reputation, and even when she went out for meals, fans approached her for autographs. Her family, though still sensitive to gossip about her being Song Mei-li's daughter, felt proud and comforted to see her success. Meanwhile, Song Mei-li's strong need for control initially made her hope Chunxing would follow her path, but when she saw Chunxing thriving on her own, she stopped forcing her and began to support her independent choices. Chunxing, too, started to face their relationship honestly. After hearing her grandmother recall how Song Mei-li had once been an orphan, living a miserable childhood like a beggar, Chunxing's heart softened with compassion. Once unwilling to even speak to Song Mei-li, Chunxing now made her breakfast. When she received her first payment, she not only bought gifts for her family, but also for Song Mei-li. Slowly, she accepted her as her mother. Together, they even filmed a mother-daughter themed commercial. For a time, Chunxing enjoyed love, family, and career all at once, a rare harmony in her life. But this success deeply unsettled Choi. Once close to Song Mei-li, even calling her mother in private, she now felt abandoned as Song Mei-li drew nearer to Chunxing. With Chunxing's rising popularity overshadowing her, Choi was crushed by setbacks in love, family, and career all at once. Her frustration turned into rage. Around this time, she discovered a secret that could ruin Chunxing. Junhao's father, the director of a cosmetic hospital, often interacted with Song Mei-li, providing her skincare treatments. Over time, they grew familiar, sometimes sharing drinks and personal talks. When Junhao's mother found out, she mistakenly believed her husband and Song Mei-li were romantically involved. In anger, she went to a filming set, slapped her husband in front of everyone, and threatened divorce. Her anger grew worse after learning about Junhao and Chunxing's relationship. She confronted Chunxing directly, warning her to break up with Junhao. Junhao was left torn between his parents and Chunxing, struggling with guilt and helplessness. All of this was closely watched by Choi. Just as she prepared to strike, she uncovered an even darker secret. Song Mei-li was connected to the death of Chunxing's father. A journalist already investigating confirmed this to her. For Choi, it was like finding treasure. She confronted Song Mei-li, ignoring their former closeness. She threatened that unless Song Mei-li persuaded Chunxing to break up with Junhao, she would expose the truth, destroying her reputation and snatching away her daughter. At the same time, Choi also pressured Junhao, warning him that unless he left Chunxing and returned to her, she would reveal everything. When Choi threatened to expose the scandal, it risked not only shaming the family but also destroying Chunxing's career before it even began. Under pressure, Junhao and Song Mei-li tried to think of countermeasures, but no solution appeared. To protect Chunxing's future, Junhao made a foolish choice. He invited her out for a beautiful day together, creating happy memories. But just when Chunxing's heart was full of joy, Junhao broke up with her. Having only just begun their relationship, Chunxing couldn't believe it was over so soon. At home, she called him again and again, but no one ever answered. Finally, she accepted the reality. The heartbreak left her devastated, and even her acting suffered. Days passed in painful despair. Choi, though successful in breaking them apart, found no happiness. Junhao did not return to her, and her guilt left her restless. Junhao, meanwhile, had thought that ending things with Chunxing would prevent the truth about Song Mei-li and Chunxing's father from being revealed, but he was wrong. The journalist investigating Song Mei-li tracked down Junhao's father, the hospital director, who had been the sole witness. Back then, to conceal the truth about having a daughter, Song Mei-li had gone to Chunxing's father, but in the process of saving her, he was struck by a car and killed. To avoid any link between herself and him, Song Mei-li buried the truth. Now the director knew the secret was about to come out. He called Song Mei-li to meet. By chance, Chunxing saw this and misunderstood, believing Junhao had broken up with her because Song Mei-li was romantically involved with the director. She followed them and overheard the conversation, finally realizing her father's death was indeed connected to Song Mei-li. The revelation shattered her. Returning home, she flew into a rage, smashing everything in sight. She demanded that Song Mei-li go to the police and confess and beg her family for forgiveness. But Song Mei-li refused, saying that doing so would destroy her future. Her selfish response crushed Chunxing. They quarreled bitterly, and Chunxing stormed out of her house. He no longer had the courage to expose Song Mei-li, nor the face to return to his family. Cutting off all contact, he disappeared. Everyone believed he had broken down from heartbreak. Even Junhao blamed himself for ending things so abruptly. But then, Junhao's father told him the truth. Shocked and determined, Junhao desperately searched for Chunxing. At last, he found him in a park, curled up and hurt like a lost child. Meanwhile, Song Mei-li, after losing Chunxing, was consumed with regret. She finally resolved to visit Chunxing's family to beg for forgiveness. But by then, it was too late. Chunxing's mother had already learned the full truth from the police. No longer able to feel any sincerity from Song Mei-li, the family lashed out at her with bitter words. Soon after, Chunxing's mother went straight to Junhao's company and took her child away. Chunxing's mother took him home, determined never to let him return to Song Mei Li again. Wanting to win her daughter back, Song Mei Li chose to fully cooperate with the police investigation, but the Li family still refused to forgive her. Desperate, she blurted out the truth that Chunxing was not related to the Li family by blood. The revelation struck them like lightning. Chunxing's mother finally understood why he had once left so resolutely. Junhao thought that once the truth came out, he and Chunxing could reconcile, but he was wrong. Chunxing, deeply disappointed in him, had no intention of returning to his side. It wasn't until the restaurant manager overheard a conversation between Song Mei Li and Choi that the truth was revealed. Junhao had only broken up with Chunxing because he was threatened. When the manager told Chunxing of Junhao's helplessness, Chunxing finally chose to forgive him, and the two reunited. As for Song Mei Li, once her scandal became public, she fell from the peak of fame to rock bottom. Her glittering career turned into nothing but smoke. Junhao's company too wavered on the edge of collapse because of her. Chunxing no longer wished to acknowledge her, and Song Mei Li, stripped of everything, sank into despair. Slowly, she walked into the sea. In the end, Junhao's mother discovered that her husband had never been romantically involved with Song Mei Li. Her misunderstanding cleared, she gave her blessing to Junhao and Chunxing's relationship. Choi also gave up her entanglements with Junhao. Song Mei Li, rescued by fishermen after her failed suicide attempt, was persuaded by Chunxing to reveal her past publicly. Mother and daughter finally reconciled, after which Song Mei Li chose to live in seclusion. Chunxing, on the other hand, rose to become a true superstar. After all the storms, the Li family once again gathered joyfully together. And so the story closed, with heartfelt thanks to everyone for their support and encouragement. And with this sweet story comes to an end.